Because like we typically do, we just gave ourselves a ton of shit to get through.
Right.
On this episode again.
I know. We didn't have to like jump in and then add historical, repertory films to add on top of the ones that we actually did watch.
No, but it makes a lot of sense, I think, to talk about those kind of together, right, at the same time.
Well, yeah, because to me, we're having the same, we have not evolved past this conversation.
No.
Like it's like we've made no progress and as a society at all in this conversation.
Yeah.
And it's fucking infuriating that we have to continue to have it.
Right. No, or that we have to have this kind of, that these artists have to make art to call our attention to it over and over and over again too.
Right. It's mind-boggling.
So
it really, and like, and the fact that we still have this level of like kind of nervous and almost like Bamboozled to me is the perfect example of the acceptance of all of this. And then having that realized in the theater when you're watching the trailer for American Fiction, I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Again, they're a good, I didn't look up the years, but but I mean, like Bamboozled
was 2000. Hollywood Shuffle was 87.
Right. Okay. So 13 and then 23 or 20.
And it's
the same fucking thing.
Story.
Right.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Okay. So let's take a step back here.
Let's just jump right in with outrage. Oh shit! Are you okay? Let me get you. Brock is so upset he almost killed himself.
We'll take a step back here, and today we're going to start off with looking at the new film American Fiction that's directed by Cord Jefferson, starring, this cast is so amazing.
Yeah,
starring Jeffrey Wright, Tracy Ellis Ross, Sterling K. Brown, Eric Alexander, and John Ortiz. And this is based on the Percival Everett novel Erasure.
Have you read it?
No.
Yeah, me either.
No. I've read some of his, but it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. I've read a lot more Colson Whitehead. I mean, if we're talking sort of like
sure,
contemporary Black novelists. Not a lot of like Victor LaValle either,
okay.
who's another big one. But I think one way we're going to look at this is we're in conversation with the films Hollywood Shuffle and Bamboozled, right?
Right.
So after almost falling, let me catch my breath.
There's a lot of adrenaline rushing in addition to the incredulity.
I was like, holy shit, what?
How did you come to write this book?
What really struck me was that too few books were about my people. Where are our stories? Where's our representation?
Would you give us the pleasure of reading an excerpt?
Yo, Sharonda, girl, you be pregnant again? If I is, Ray Ray's gonna be a real father this time around. Thank you.
Monk, your books are good, but they're not popular. Editors, they want a black book.
They have a black book. I'm black, and it's my book.
You know what I mean.
Look at what they publish. Look at what they expect us to write. I just want to rub their noses in it.
I'd be standing outside in the night.
Deadbeat dads, rappers, crack. You said you wanted black stuff. That's black, right?
I see what you're doing. We sold your book.
No.
We believe Mr. Lee has written a bestseller.
It's a joke.
The most lucrative joke you've ever told.
Now, is Stagg a pseudonym?
Yeah.
Mr. Lee can't use his real name.
Is this based on your actual life?
Yeah, you think some bitch-ass college boy can come up with that shit?
No, I don't.
Can I ask what you were in for? Was it murder?
You said that, not me.
They ran 300,000 copies.
Your books change people's lives.
They're offering $4 million for movie rights.
Yes! The dumber I behave, the richer I get. This has gone too far.
Stag Arley is still on the run from authorities.
You haven't done anything. It's not like they can arrest you.
Wish I could go back to not selling books.
Is it bad to cater to people's tastes?
People want to love you, Monk. You should let them love all of you.
There's already so much buzz because of the movie deal.
Michael B. Jordan is circulating.
We want to put him on the cover in one of those scarves, I guess you would call them, tied around his head.
A do-rag?
Do-rag, that's it. Do-rag and a tank top with the muscles showing.
Somebody call the fire department.
We're thinking we can get it out in time for Juneteenth.
So, okay, all right. So here's the logline for American Fiction. A novelist who's fed up with the establishment profiting from black entertainment uses a pen name to write a book that propels him to the heart of hypocrisy and the madness he claims to disdain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Although, can we just talk about American Fiction first as a movie as a whole and kind of how we felt about
of course.
it? Because,
yeah.
And then we'll get into the conversation about Hollywood Shuffle and Bamboozled. I do feel that this is diminished a bit because this really is a family drama. This is a guy dealing with this family trauma. I feel like it's just so interesting to me how 2023 movies are being marketed. Like all across the board. And we can go back all the way to like, we're making movies that appear to be reboots, but are just movie versions of the musical Broadway versions that we're not really, we're not really advertising. And then from things like Dream Scenario, which is kind of billed as a weird horror thriller kind of like,
which isn't.
Right. And so this seems like it is a contemporary conversation on race and acceptance and also selling out and like,
it's really marketed as a satire.
Right. And so this is a man coming to grips with giving into market forces and also the entertainment industry placating white audiences, and not showing middle class people of color, basically.
Right.
But that's not really what this film, that is part of this film.
But it doesn't even show up until like an hour in.
Right. And also it doesn't eat at him. This is an already an angry guy. Not angry is probably the wrong term because we use that brush pretty broadly in media anyway.
And you don't want to lean into the stereotype of angry black man either. Right.
And that's not what
this is like a frustrated artist.
Right. Yes, he is. He's written 4 or 5 published novels. They've been all relatively, I would say, at best, modest successes.
He teaches at a university in, where is he? Is he in California? He's in California, right? So he's teaching in the literature department of a university.
And he sees himself in a way that where the industry sees him as a black author, he sees himself as an author. That's a valid conversation to have. I don't think that but that's not exactly, again, what informs this entire movie. This is a movie about a man dealing with a whole bevy of things, a sister who's dying, a sister who's dead or who dies early on in the film, a brother who is non-existent in their family's life, and a mother who has Alzheimer's and is on her way out, and then he's also twice divorced or however many times, he's a divorced man and is also having a relatively bad time, professionally, from his work and from his publishing and his art. And so he sees what appears to be an easy out, and out of an instance of frustration, writes a obviously heavy-handed, stereotypical black novel, quote unquote black novel, that and then that it becomes successful. I just fell over in my chair as well.
I was going to say, metaphorically.
Right.
I literally fell over in my chair.
It becomes successful, and then he has to deal with the repercussions of that, that success. I do feel like this movie, I like the family aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I didn't really like the other piece of it. I think they they kind of battle each other for, I think, the forefront of what this movie is trying to get across. And so I think a lot of like the narrative around him coming to grips doesn't it's not really cohesive with the family piece of it. I don't. It's not to say that I think this is a bad movie. I don't think this is as good as I was hoping it would be when I went into the film.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, like we have already mentioned, and like we talked before, I mean, the marketing sort of misleads us, or it makes us think it's going to be really about this one thing, or it's going to be a satire, a different kind of satire. Yeah, it doesn't really coalesce into. It's more the sum of its parts, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the acting is brilliant. I think the pieces that come into play are, I think, like even like when bringing in Adam Brody and that sequence of them making the movie, and I think that plays pretty well. I like his agent, and all of the family stuff is really, really well done.
Yeah. When
his mom is in that moment, and when they finally put her in the home and she's talking to him, and he realizes that she's actually talking to his brother, and and that her coming to grips with him being gay, and all of those familial elements. I talking about it. Obviously, this movie is doing something that Monk was not able to do, right? I mean, this movie is showing a normalized middle class, family of color having the exact same struggles that it sounds fucking stupid to say it like this, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's.
Look, I mean, I don't think
having human struggles,
right,
that aren't normally portrayed,
right. Well, but I think that's the thing. Like, I mean, I think the movie is making this point too, is that most films like this are white families, right? Or they're rom-commy, and again, they're white characters. I think that the filmmakers are smart to sort of call attention to Tyler Perry in the film.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Because this is not a Tyler Perry film. And I think that's do you remember, this would have been like, what, back in the 90s? All of the, who was that novelist? But like the Stella Got Her Groove Back. And there were like 3 or 4 films. Like
Waiting to Exhale.
Yeah. But those were clearly marketed as and received as black films. Right. And I think then that limited a kind of audience. And this is what I think like Jefferson and the producers and everyone else behind this film are doing, is saying, oh, hey, white viewers, here's a kind of satire that makes it almost comfortable for them to go see it and not call it like a black movie.
Right.
I'm not sure that I'm explaining myself very well, but I think
I hear what you're saying. Right.
Yeah,
that it's
almost like tricking people
subversively
to go into
giving you one thing that you think you can laugh at, and even laugh at yourself for being so like,
being one of the white liberal Hampton like readers, right? in the film, because but I did think that was, because even though I was expecting more of the satire, I still really liked this, and I think I liked it because of that, because it was saying, you know what, this is a family drama, and we're not going to worry about the color aspect in terms of. We're going to show you this film like it's any other film about this kind of family.
Right.
Right.
Right. The pull is the American fiction, right? I mean, so the idea is gets you into the theater is this kind of controversial, pseudo controversial topic, and then you're kind of lulled into, and I totally agree.
But I also think this controversial issue is really interesting in terms of, and this is something that I am really sort of fascinated. I'm really trying to watch my language.
Right, sure.
Because I don't want to come off as like, oh, the black experience is so fascinating to this white boy. But I do think like black vernacular English is interesting in how we kind of tisk it, not just in the academic world, but everywhere. And so Issa Rae plays a novelist who's gained fame by writing this novel in black vernacular English, right?
Right.
she doesn't speak in Black vernacular English when she's giving press conferences or interviews. But this is where Monk's disdain really comes.
But she
out.
does read in
she does
in
read
affected voices, right?
Right. Yeah. But I mean, of course, she's reading like in that.
Sure.
Yeah. But this is where Monk's like disdain kind of really rises up, and I think that's an interesting question, right? Like this. I don't know, listeners. I don't know how much you've looked into Black vernacular English, but it does have its own sort of syntactical structure and its own lexicography and its own sort of grammar. I mean, there really is that. And so to dismiss it as like ebonics or slang or however we do that, I think is wrong. And again, gatekeeping. And so this brings up something when he is arguing with her kind of towards the end about that I think is a conversation worth having. And that to me is why that whole sort of, him taking on that pseudonym and publishing that novel, that's the importance of that in the story, not so much the satirical aspect of it.
Right. It would have been an interesting thing to have her kind of, put him in his place a little bit more than what actually happens in the movie.
But is he wrong? Is he wrong when what he says to her? Because this was, I've been going back and forth with this, right? Because he's like, look, I did this as a kind of like, we don't have to write this way or talk this way to get attention. And she does put him in his place, but she says like, this is what the market wants. And then she's like, and I did research. And I'm like, but does that matter?
Right.
I don't
know. And I think it may be unfair to put the burden of the question on the film, on a 2-hour film.
Right.
But no, and I'm not saying that for any other reason then that's just for me to like kind of make peace with my feelings about the movie, because I do think that this question, and it does expand beyond the Black experience, but it also is very prevalent for the Black experience. From my viewpoint.
Sure.
Just looking at it, this question interests me, right? Of how much do you play into the expectation, right? And then how do you pull back from that and provide some normalcy? I think it's something, if you look at it from the outset, this is something that the Black community has been, from my perspective, been dealing with for since the civil rights movement, right? And even before, it really probably from the civil rights movement when they had, but you look at somebody like Cosby and take all of the, and I know it's hard to do, but take all of the, but seriously, take all of the sexual assault away. And Cosby's assholery was always about, you've got to pull your pants up and you can't do this and that. And you can't do, so what part of it is, this thing is a really interesting question of, how much of it is truly the culture and how much of it is truly an expectation of a oppressive society expectation of your culture? And obviously I don't think a single film can answer that. And I don't think a single set of books or anything, but I do think the conversation is an interesting one to have. And I think that's probably why we continue to have it, but it's unfortunate that it continues to have to happen to the Black community, that we can't really, they've got to continually redefine what their output is going to be, or what's going to be acceptable and what's going to, be profitable, at the end of the day. And
still like justify all that.
Right.
This is part of the, I think one thing this movie is saying is we're going to show you, all the different varieties of Black families, just like you would, even though you don't expect it, but you do expect a variety of white families. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
So, yeah. How many movies out there are of poor white people? I'm thinking even of something like, Winter's Bone, right? Poor white people in the Ozarks, but you know what? They're going to find a way to kind of overcome and achieve, right? But, and then there are, movies about middle class and rich white families, but we don't get the same varied stories with Black families. I guess I'm thinking of, American Fiction. Did you see Waves?
No.
That's another one that shows, it's more of a tragedy, but it does show a sort of affluent, Black family. And then, of course, they go through struggles and and the son ends up in jail. So I mean, it is sort of falls into some of those like traps and stereotypes. But it's still showing.
Yeah, like where's your Nicole Hoffzeffner? I don't know how to say her last name, but like
that's close enough.
But where's her black equivalent? Right?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, where are these like simple and not simplistic, but simple everyday? I'm living in New York and I've got anxiety and I am a cake maker and I'm just showing
dating troubles.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not the funny friend or the sidekick or whatever.
Or like they say in the film, the slave or the drug dealer or the crackhead or the hooker or the
And that then, like you said, they're not deemed black films.
Right.
Right. This is not Love and Basketball. This is just another film. Right. This is another Nora Ephron rom-com. Like,
And I mean, I think there's a part of me that doesn't want to label films as black films at all.
Right.
But then I feel like that's also me saying, I don't see color.
Right. No, right.
Because
it's hard not to be pandering, right? I mean, it's hard not to come off as being, I don't know, like this, like steeped in white guilt but it's also superficial and not meaningful, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not this false allyship where you just want to present.
I'm here now, so you're legitimate.
Right. I've heard you and I've seen you, and now you've been seen by a white person, so you're good to go.
But I mean, I really don't like how and I do this. I'm guilty of doing this, where we slip into like, oh, this female artist or this female fronted band or. You know what I mean? Or a female director. It's like, wait, why are we doing that? I mean, why does it matter? Why are we sort of...
But if you look at it, even this year, and I don't know how to like because we need more of those. So the ones that we get that are poignant and so things like Moonlight or 1001 or Earth Mama, these movies or these movies that do show what is a realistic story. And then they're not diving into those stereotypes outside of, well, I expect a person of color, a black kid to be, in the system of some sort of, being not part of, not with able to with his mom or his mom to be on drugs. All of these things where these stories can still be told, but then not also be the only black stories that we're hearing. Right. Yeah, I think this question is obviously, I think the blackening touched on this in a different way, as well. And I think that's really where I find the conversation interesting, is I find it interesting from a perspective of people of color and understanding what them coming to grips with what it truly means to be black or whatever you might, whatever you are. Right.
But then also how varied that can be within that sort of same
and then coming to grips like that. The whole thing about the blackening, right, is all. I mean, what really was about this group of friends determining who was the blackest, right? I mean, that's
talking about rescinding black cards, right? But yet within that, I mean, diversity isn't just color, right? And
sure,
I mean, so it's a very kind of diverse group of friends. I think socioeconomic. Cultural backgrounds, right? Even within that same racial makeup,
right?
Yeah, language. No, but I mean, I joke because I get uncomfortable.
Sure, and I mean, and it's not easy because because I don't know, your existence is part of the problem. I mean, it's well, not existence, but it's just this, and what I mean by existence is this kind of ease of acceptance of whatever is presented in front of you, right? I mean, this idea of it doesn't really affect me at the end of the day. And I mean, it doesn't have to affect me at the end of the day, is how I should say it, in the sense that I can accept a 1,000 different variations of The Big Bang Theory or 2.5 Men or Friends or all of these bullshit things that come through, and I can ignore them. But then when, living single or these other ones don't, I don't know. This whole idea of you also have to then contend with the assholes or why does it have to be, why do I have to be shown all of these other things? Why does it have to be a certain thing for specific people? And everyone's in a tizzy about the World of Magical Negroes movie that's coming out.
Are they really?
I mean, look, but it's always this. It's the same narrative. It's the same, it's the same Woman King narrative. It's the same nonsense female Ghostbusters narrative. It says, oh, if you did that on the like, fuck you. Like it. No,
but that doesn't. That's.
I didn't mean to like.
No, because like, this also. So we are recording this podcast in Texas. As I have stated before on this podcast, I am in the area. I'm in higher education, and a state bill was just passed where that abolishes all DEI offices on public campuses. Right. So the public institution that I teach at can no longer have a DEI office. Right. This is fucking ridiculous. Right. And of course it's instigated by white people who are saying, well, who are basically decrying reverse racism, right, which doesn't exist. It's right. It's not a thing that actually exists. So this narrative is just, I mean, it's a false narrative. It's a straw man argument. And you would think that these people, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're never going to admit that they're smart enough to understand what they're doing. So, but this also, going back to the movie, this brings to mind that first scene in the film where he is in his classroom. Monk is in his classroom, and he has the title of a short story by Flannery O'Connor called, oh, I should have written this down. Anyway, it's the N-word is in the title, and a white student raises her hand and says that word makes her uncomfortable. and Monk is like, why does it make you uncomfortable? And I mean, of course, that word should make all of us uncomfortable. Sure. And I think that's part of the reason that he had it up on the board anyway. And his point was, if I can sit here and look at it, so can you. Right? Like, why are you outraged at me, right, for this? Because you can see that there's a conversation to be had around that. But, yeah.
I don't know what to say about the DEI.
I know. But I mean, it plays into that sort of like uproar about a film like The Society of Magical Negroes, where it's like, oh my God, I cannot believe that you're saying that about white people. And it's like, look, we should just acknowledge the privilege that we have through no effort of our own.
Right.
And be like, okay. Yeah. I mean, yes, right? I'm like, yes, I'm sorry. And the best I can do is not abuse that privilege.
Right. I don't know. It is infuriating and it's tiring, right? It's I don't know. It's a pendulum swing that I think we all got lazy, right? As a society, and as a country, I don't know. And I think it's not just the United States, but we
were the ones that had a war over slavery.
True. We all just got a little too self-assured and never really thought that you think that progress is not going to stop, right? You're going to, because time moves. I know we've talked about this, but time's not it's a construct. But as we move forward and through whatever ethereal plane this might be, we think that growth continues, right? I mean, it's just that you hit a plateau. Let's just say gay marriage or women's rights, or to choose, these types of things.
What to do with their own bodies,
and that you won't swing backwards. And I think we don't live on this earth long enough to realize that these things that there were progressive societies before us, and those all collapsed too. So that the what we should be trying to do is prepare for our inevitable collapse, and we won't do that either. and it won't matter to the fucking people that are. I mean, here's the rub, right? Is that it won't matter to the people that are voting for it now. It won't affect them. They'll be dead.
Which is a ridiculous. But these are also the same people who espouse traditional family values. Right. So what you're saying is, I'll be dead. It won't affect me. Well, what about the 12 kids that you had?
Right, but we don't
with the 4 different wives.
But it's not even that though, right? I mean, like. This idea we've talked about late stage all of this.
I know.
Is it, and I say all, because it's hyperbole, but this is all predicated on late stage capitalism. There is no going back
collapse of.
to making America great again. Because let's just assume that you don't mean the racial part of it. Let's just assume that you mean traditional family values, which means which means a man goes out and works. It doesn't really matter. Let's say let's take the sexism out of it. That one parent goes out and work and one parent takes home and stays home and takes care of the kids. Can't exist these days. Nope. It doesn't happen because we are built on a society and economy that has to continually grow. And so what you're seeing is the necessity of increasing the workforce. The only thing that can grow, because we can't generate things. We can't, with physics, the law of physics and the law of nature means that we cannot create anything new. That all we can do is make more people. And then at the end of the day of that, once we've done that, and once we've exhausted that, then all we can do is start making you pay more for the things that you don't own. So again,
which is everything.
Get used to renting your car forever. Renting your corporations are going to own everything. They're going to own every home in America, and everyone is going to rent from them, and it is going to raise however they want to raise it, and you will own nothing. And that's the only way that this can continue to grow. Yeah. And so until we realize that, until we teach that, until we start taking care of one another, and that means fucking DEI.
Right.
That means taking a step back and giving something up so your fellow man can have something else. And yes, I know what that sounds like, and you can call it whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Right.
But let's call it what it is the preservation of our, of our.
Well, but there's a reason that Finland is apparently the happiest, or there's a reason that the Finnish are the happiest people around, right? They don't have to pay for college. They don't need big homes. They're not taught from a young age that you're supposed to have more than Susie, that you're supposed to have more than Tommy, that if you don't have more, fucking figure out a way to get more than them.
I don't. This idea that life is a competition, and that existence is a competition, and that competitions are won by, and this is what, out of all of it, right? Out of all of the disgusting nature of Trump and what comes, and again, here's the thing, Trump's a piece of shit, but I don't have any sort of love for any sort of politician, right?
No,
they're all there for their own, I would say all. Again,
this is not
all,
public service anymore, right?
They're all there for their own enrichment. I mean, when Elizabeth Warren can make $300 million, $300,000, whatever the fuck she makes on stock trades, fuck that. You're not there to serve the fucking people. Trump is not there to serve the fucking people.
Never. But this really never made any illusion of that.
Right. Yeah. At the very least, I think you can say that for him, is that he is the ugliest of us all. And I get why you. I don't get it, but
yeah, no, there's no.
But this idea of this Randian nonsense that we live in, of fuck you, I've got mine, don't give a shit about you, and we cannot, because we're so ingrained in teaching that America is the best country in the world and you have to be the best and you've got to win, whatever the fuck that means, that we are willing to cut our own fucking legs off. Well, fuck it. I mean, again, be glad that we don't have longevity that spans centuries.
Right.
And be glad that your life here on Earth is at best a 3-digit number, a very low 3-digit number, and be done with it. Because to be able to see it play out over time would just drive you fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean, this is so fleeting, and most of us live in a miserable
We're talking about movies, right?
Yeah, I know.
And this is my fucking fault. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about.
It's both of our. It's okay because I could keep going on and on about it. I have thoughts, but let's do this. Let's sort of.
I need to go back and listen to this episode to go, how the fuck do we get from A to B here? At one point, Brock was falling over in his chair, and now I'm now I'm wanting to jump out the second story window.
None of this ever. I don't know how we ever get from point to point in a lot of this, but that's part of the fun, and that's part of why you listen. So let's do this to kind of get us back on track. Let's talk about how American fiction fits in then with these films like Hollywood Shuffle and Bamboozled, right? These films that were a decade plus apart.
Yeah. So basically, let's just call it 20 and 20, right? I mean, just for cleanliness' sake, right. And I think I think there's films around these areas that tie-in to like I'm gonna get you suckers kind of in the same vein, although it's more of a spoof. I mean, it's kind of a parody.
See, yeah, that to me is much more. I mean, it was funny, not funny. I was thinking of Hollywood Shuffle and Bamboozled, and I'm like, they're not really. I mean, I understand how satire works. These are like satire in name only, right? I mean, they're satirical in that they are kind of being ironic and looking askance at something and trying to gain your, trying to sort of draw your attention over here by showing you this instead, right? But I mean, something like I'm Gonna Get You Sucker is really that kind of
true
parody, satirical take on like these blaxploitation films.
Right. The satire is not wearing its heart on its sleeve so much as that Shuffle and Bamboozled are.
Right.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Shuffle to me seems like the perfect like entry into those movies. It's still trying to be nice and unoffensive, and this really is about one man's struggle to figure out how much of himself is he going to give up and how to become successful. This is all about Robert Townsend, and this is essentially Robert Townsend's story, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a comedian, a stand-up comedian, a filmmaker, and he cobbled together by $100,000. And this was really, I mean, like if you want to talk about one of the big player, not big, but one of the players in the burgeoning the rebirth of independent cinema in the United States, in the U.S. He's got to be in the conversation, right? I mean, like he's there with Spike, he's there with Kevin Smith. He's a guy who put all of this. He cobbled together $100,000. He was begging and borrowing for film stock. He
stole it. Did you like? He would take these like small jobs, small roles on films or commercials,
right?
And then he would take these. What were they called? Short stock. So like leftover unexposed film, and he would just like take it.
Yeah.
Which I think is brilliant, right? Which is such a Cassavetes move too.
Right. And he was able to cobble together a really, really solid, not great, but a really, really solid and funny, not again, this is not based on what he had available to him. This film is a fucking miracle.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And it really is I mean, like he's great. It's a pretty solid narrative. He goes through and he intersperses skits throughout the movie. They're
like flights of fancy, right? I mean, like him imagining these different things. And
yeah, I think the Siskel and Ebert portion is my favorite one of them. But even the
I kind of liked that.
They these two guys. It's very much a precursor because there's all the Wayans are in this as well. It's a precursor.
Well,
to
and Keenan Ivory Wayans helped write it,
right? And so did Dom Herrera.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I know they both have credits. It's weird depending on like where you look for. Herrera doesn't get a credit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I mean, I know he did. So like, if you look on the AFI catalog. Herrera is not listed. If you look on IMDb, he is listed, and so
interesting.
Yeah, I know. I thought that too.
He's like a wildly underrated comic, and not.
I know. I was
much more well known.
I was gonna say that. I mean that, and he's even has a small part in the film,
right?
As the screenwriter of this movie.
And so this is all about Robert Townsend going to auditions. He's working at this small hot dog place. Run by John Witherspoon, and who's about to enter. He's about to introduce hoe cakes to the as a new
because hoes got to eat too.
Because hoes got to eat too. My favorite portion of this is really the Sam Spade, and I know it's not Spade obviously, but it's Sam Ace portion of it. It's all filmed in black and white, and he's just like. She looked like she wanted to do the nasty. I like
everything.
Doing the nasty.
I like doing the nasty.
But yeah, this is just again, it's all about one person coming to grips with. He ends up getting a role for a drug dealing pimp who has one of his best friends killed.
His brother,
and he goes on a revenge spree. But he's very much a ridiculously wide stereotype of a pimp, and and it's being directed and produced by white people who obviously want to have them play up those roles.
Well, they want Eddie Murphy, right? I mean, they literally say, "We want Eddie Murphy," and then he walks in looking just like
right,
and they're just like him. And like when he's got his big scene, they even ask him like, can you, be more, and he's like, be more black. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, and so interspersed through the film are these sketches where there are things like a commercial for like black acting school where they'll teach you how to, it's all these like classically trained actors. They're teaching them how to, and there are all these white people teaching them either how to talk jive or walk black or, and like one of the guys from like, I think he's from Juilliard. He's like, yeah, I played 2 rapists recently. That was nice. And like,
right. It's got a good cast too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's the gosh damn, the scene where he is fighting Keenan, and Keenan is like he's got the activator. He's got Jerry fighting Jerry Curl.
Yeah.
And his hair is starting to like dry up. Yeah.
But I mean, and those skits are the ones that really play up those stereotypes that we see in and this is where I think this really connects back to American Fiction, where Monk is like, all we are these things, right? We're slaves, we're drug dealers, we're whatever. And it's the same thing that Townsend is dealing with in this film and showing us, because he's conflicted, right? He's like, oh, this is all we're going to do. This is all we play. But what if I could be Sam Ace? What if I could be, right, this? What if I could, yes, what if there was a black acting school? What would that be like?
Right.
So one of the pushbacks on this film was the treatment of women and homosexuals.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about.
I didn't see the female aspect of it as much. I mean, I think he has.
There weren't a lot of women in there.
Well, I think he has a pretty strong. I mean, his girlfriend is one, great, and two, I think she plays a pretty prevalent part. I mean, like she has the same kind of struggles that he does. He also has, his grandmother, who is there in kind of his conscious and voice
like
of
the moral
reason,
center,
right?
Yeah.
So I didn't see that as much. The homosexuality, I honestly, it's hard for me because I just end up writing off a lot of those.
Because it was 87.
Right. I just end up writing off all of that as it's just the time. And it's unfortunate, but throwing around the F word like that, it just, I mean, like I get it. It does stand out now, but I don't know. It's hard to dismiss the film just because it had a prevalent.
Right.
I mean, it had an attitude at the time. And this is something that not only as society but the black society has dealt with as well, is trying to come to grips with how the civil rights movement applies to LGBTQ people.
The intersectionality
as well, right?
of it. Yeah.
So I mean, I understand the pushback and how it works
well, and
out,
feminism has this same problem.
Right. But you could throw a stick and hit every single movie that came out in 87 and half of them were saying the F word in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not great, but yeah, I mean, like I get it. Like looking back on it with the lens of 2024, it's, hard to do that, but
I almost forgot it was 2024.
Right.
Because I almost said, oh yeah, lens of 2023.
So, I don't know. I don't know what like I said, I'm not going to dismiss this entire film just because it does that. And I don't think, I will say this. Yes, it throws that word around. I think it only says it once, and not that means that makes it any better that it says it once.
No.
It's kind of such a throw off line. It's one of those things like if you could almost if Townsend could do it again, he'd probably edit it out, right? It's not even a line that it's so inconsequential. That's another thing too, is that for these films, and considering that also Townsend goes on to direct this same year Raw. That and it wasn't Raw. Delirious was the more one that gets the more homophobic pieces of it, and I do still think that I think the vernacular is. I always kind of side on the side of comedians, especially if things are funny. But I think the vernacular of the time, I don't think Eddie in those, and again, this is just my projection and my read on it, but I don't think Eddie was truly being homophobic in those. I think he was accepting of them, and I think he understood and I think he was making light of his perception of a black man in a tight leather suit.
Right.
And yes, that was the word that they used to call people out, but I know it's hard for me to, but I think that was a word that was everyone used at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily again, you can disagree with me. I don't necessarily know if Delirious is as homophobic as people make it out to be, or just because of the words being said. But anyway.
You do know that words mean things, though, right?
I do know that words mean things, yes. Okay. Different things sometimes.
Well, you know what Wittgenstein said. The meaning of a word is its use.
There you go.
So.
So leaning into, so this is if I don't laugh, it's just because my head's already gone to some other place. So it's not that I'm ignoring you.
Staying power of my, speaking of words meaning things.
But this is a pretty innocuous entry, right? And it also, I think I do find that it's nice that it's got picked up by Criterion, although really, really late from Criterion. I do think it's kind of a bedrock of American independent cinema, so there's no reason why it shouldn't have been. It's one of those things too, like if you look at like something like Watermelon Woman, and I mean, like why that just, I guess that just got picked up by Criterion too, so maybe Criterion's finally like 40 years later coming around to like really trying to look at those films, but I think I think people talk about it, but it doesn't really, I think it kind of gets lumped in with I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
Yeah, and I think it's really different than like I said before.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's just because of the Keenan, the Wayans portion of it. But I really like this movie. It's but I think again, it's kind of easy to, I think its comedic pieces work too well in a way. And also you can make an argument, I think, that the comedic pieces also, again, still play into some of the stereotype, right? Especially the Jerry Curl piece and so what's true and what's not? And again, going back to the Tyler Perry line in American Fiction, I really want to know if that was truly a dig at Tyler Perry, because like Tyler Perry's been called out for, I mean, and I'd say called out. I mean, like Spike's come out and talked about how that this shouldn't be how we're presenting ourselves.
But I think that's what it was saying.
Right.
I mean, I don't know that it was so much a dig at Tyler Perry, the person, but more Tyler Perry, the entity or the idea.
Right.
Right. That's kind of how I read that.
Right. And Tyler Perry's a whole like genre that I don't really, I mean, like one, I realize it is not for me. It's just so like, so I've seen enough, right? It's not like, I don't know where it's not for me, it's not my conversation to have, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Right. Like whether or not.
So do you think then that this is Jefferson saying, by saying that like, this is not a Tyler Perry film, is he saying like, this is just a film? You don't have to put black film in front of it to go back to that idea.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean,
like don't call me a female artist, don't call me a black artist, just call me an artist.
Yeah, because the Tyler Perry stuff is so. It is such a. They're all characters, right? It doesn't feel real. Obviously, I mean, obviously, there's probably people that exist in each one of those categories in a Tyler Perry, but they're all hyper realized versions of themselves. Even the other people in the film, the white people, they're all caricatures. It's like watching an Ernest movie. Like it's just so like it's like watching Disney, right? It's so dialed up to 11 that you just can't like. If it works for you, great. It just doesn't like it. But again, it's just it's like every joke is a breaking of the fourth wall kind of. And it's like, okay, we get it. And it's just like
over and over.
Right.
And over.
I don't watch Mama's Family either. I mean, it's just like it's so like I mean. I don't know. And that's kind of how I equate those two things.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Oh, wait. One more thing about Hollywood Shuffle and American Fiction is how both of those films use those flights of fancies. American Fiction has a couple of those too, especially at the end, but also when he's writing the sort of satirical novel, right? He imagines these characters and the characters then talk to him, which I like that they didn't keep coming back to that. They
Yeah,
did
it
that
would've been too
once,
much.
and it was done. Where I think Hollywood Shuffle, I mean, there's like, what, 4 or 5?
There's a lot.
Of the
There's a
kind
lot.
of, yeah.
I mean,
and it's not a long film.
no,
It's
it's
like-
an hour and 20 plus and you got a
right.
lot, and you got a lot of credits.
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of that in there. But I mean, they both do that, which seems to be maybe a bit of a reference or a callback. But I feel like American Fiction navigates that so much better. But I don't know. I mean, to me,
Sure,
like these
but
are both like 6.5, 7 out of 10 movies.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like, yeah,
Good solid
like,
7.5.
good solid 7.5. Okay, so let's talk about Bamboozled then and how it fits in there, because this is a little bit meaner,
Oh yeah.
right?
This is a dig. This is Spike's fuck you to everything.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and like, so how do you feel about Bamboozled? as a
Okay,
whole?
so there's a couple things. One, I do not know what Damon Wayans is doing in this film. I mean, I understand like he's supposed to be the kind of, I don't know what you want to call him in sort of parlance, but Harvard educated black man who almost wants to pass for white, but he's got this affected accent and way of talking that I just can't get around. And it drives me crazy throughout the whole film. So I don't know what he's doing there, right? And then the way it looks drives me crazy. I think it looks like shit.
Well, it's filmed.
I know. It's filmed on a prosumer level Sony camcorder, right? That at the time would have cost around $3,000, $3 to $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But why? Why is he filming on mini DV? I know he's keeping the budget down, but why? It doesn't look good. And it doesn't sound good. My point to that is that it takes me out of, I think, what's going on, right? It calls attention to itself, and in a way that I don't think he really wants it to.
Oh, I think he does.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Really? You think he wants? Okay, so I was comparing, at least in my head, these films to something like Fear of a Black Hat.
Mm-hmm.
And how that, but that is a mockumentary, right?
Right.
It's meant to look like it's been shot on a handy cam, where this is a movie, right? This is a film, a realized like narrative.
No, that's where you're wrong. This is a fuck you.
No. I get that. I get that. But I think Spike Lee is so meticulous so often with his use of colors and his use of framing and his use of double dolly shots and stuff like that, where this doesn't have that. And I think it could still be a fuck you, but it could be shot on film. I think is what I'm saying.
I think this is intended to make you uncomfortable.
Okay.
I think this is intended to pull you. I think this is intended. This whole thing.
But doesn't it
because
make
if
you uncomfortable, like,
Absolutely.
regardless?
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. Like,
right,
like,
but that's the
yeah.
whole. But here's the thing: if you played this, like, if this was as Dayglow as Do the Right Thing, you start to settle in here,
Right.
right? I mean,
Right.
you. And again, I'm not trying to change your mind.
No,
but this
no,
is the
it's
reason why
okay.
this fucking,
It's okay. It's
I
okay.
love this movie.
Okay.
Is that it everything about it is heightened, right? This. Even the accent on Pierre Delacroix is. I mean, he's fucking named Pierre Delacroix.
No,
right?
I know,
mean,
and
so-
like the name's great, but just that effect, I don't know. And maybe it's because, no, it's not even because I know what Damon Wayans sounds like in other things, right? But I mean, there's like Damon Wayans sounds like whatever he wants to sound like. So from his own TV show to In Living Color, he would take on different personas, different accents. This one just doesn't work for me. So it's not like, oh my gosh, he sounds too white or something. That's not
right. But
what
it's all.
I mean.
But it's all part of the character, though, right? I mean, it's all
Right,
part of a character
right.
that has risen to the top of a white but seemingly urban white studio.
Sure.
That I mean, who's put on this affectation to get to that place to placate white people.
Right, but nobody talks like that ever.
Right, but again,
that's what I
you would
mean.
never have a blackface TV show in the year 2000
No,
either.
I know, but see, but that is so, but that I think is brilliant. So,
But here's the thing.
what,
Here's
okay.
the thing. Everything about this film is the minstrel show.
No, I know.
Like, I mean, but all of its pieces of the minstrel show. So I'm just saying that the reason is that if you start to take pieces out, right? If you start to take pieces of the puzzle out, this starts to fall apart, and then it's just about a guy. Then it becomes the American. I mean, it becomes American fiction in a way that where the people are laughing at the trailer. It becomes a trailer of American fiction. Everything about this movie is supposed to make, from the fake ads, all of it is supposed to make you feel like shit. And it's all supposed to, and like, he takes so many industry digs. He takes a dig at Ving Rhames. He takes a dig, who I can't remember now, like who did the, like his two award, he wins the awards twice. Yeah. He takes digs at two different people, and I can't remember who the other one was in addition to Ving Rhames. But like this whole thing is all predicated on like making you uncomfortable with how comfortable you become with this. Yeah. Again, not everything's a minstrel show, but this is all predicated on like the reason the Mau Mau's are there is because this is all you're being shooken awake by. This is what he's pointing out to you. Right. He fucking quotes third base, right? I mean, like
MC Search is 1/16th.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
exactly. Yeah. So like he's telling you that.
so Search quotes himself actually.
Right. Yeah. He is telling you that the minstrel show is here. It's already here, and you're already watching it. And
okay. So I get all this. I understand. Here's where I would push back slightly. And see, I think my only issue is technical. It doesn't have to look like Do the Right Thing. But why does it look like it was shot on my Nokia cell phone? Right? I don't know. I think there's a middle ground here, right? Okay. I think there's a middle ground. And Delacroix's accent, it doesn't have to go away. It's just like so okay. So but why is his so over the top? I don't know. I mean,
would you have dumbed down Rappaport's character then?
Well, Rappaport's playing Rappaport.
Sure, that it's not fair. No, I mean that's not a fair comparison.
No, right.
Well, okay, but that's not.
That's
not
look,
who Rappaport was. No, at that point in time.
Well, but it wasn't too.
It wasn't too far, right?
Because when was Zebrahead?
Good point.
No, that's what. So that's what I mean. It's like Rappaport is like that in everything he does. Okay. He's always that guy with that Queen's accent, right? Now he's not saying the N word and saying stuff like that, but he that's who he is, right? And my only point is that Wayne's accent is so over the top. I don't think it needs to be that over the top. I mean, I think there's a way that he could still put on that. I mean, it's clear he's putting on a persona in the film, right? That Delacroix is a character he's come up with. I don't know why anyone would choose to speak that way.
I think it's because that is how. Yeah. Like if you did any sort of comedian where black guys do it this way, white guys do it this way. Sure. The black comedian is going to put on Delacroix's voice.
Yeah.
Like you see Delacroix in the beginning where he's putting on a character because one, he's defining satire and irony, but also he's shaving his head. Like so he is presenting himself as this black man who is also safe to whites. So he's walking that tightrope of existing in this world that doesn't want him, but he needs. And because where he came from, his dad is Paul Mooney, right? I mean, so there's, I don't know, man. This I mean, look, I think in context of when a black comedian puts on that white voice, that makes more sense to me. I can buy that. It's just grating, and I know it's supposed to be. I know it's supposed to be. I get that. But I just wonder if the gradingness can be lowered a bit. And I think Sloane's character is the stand-in for Spike, right? Sloane's the one who is the struggle, right? She's the one who is, and also the acceptance, also understands that you have to fucking play in this world, and that there can be subversion, and you can teach from within, and you can teach from using, Flannery O'Connell titles, story titles on the wall.
Right.
So yeah, I think, and I've saw a lot of the people in the reviews that didn't like the Mau Mau's, and I'm like, that's the whole fucking point. The Mau Mau's are the point.
Yeah, I thought that was. I mean, like that's what I mean. Like the only things that bugged me were those, and that's why I'm like, I mean, look, I'm not doubting Spike Lee's intentionality, right, or authorial authority, right. I just didn't want to watch it because of that.
Right. It does ask you a lot, but I do think we talk about films and the douchey things we talk about films, like these films aren't necessarily meant to be liked. I don't necessarily know I don't think Spike Lee gives a shit if you liked Bamboozled.
No.
Like, you're not supposed to want to go out and buy the poster of Bamboozled. Like,
No.
You're not supposed to, you're not going to want to, like, you're not supposed to, I mean, like,
Buy the little like banks,
right? Yeah, the action figures from Bamboozled. You do not the pops. You do not want those from on your wall. And I do think a lot of it, like it was intended to, like, obviously the time that it was made, that was the 3D animation was still shitty anyway, so that was part of it. But yeah, I think this idea of like you're a fly on the wall kind of. I do think that was intentional, and because again, he made this was probably cost more than Do the Right Thing.
There's like a $10 million budget on this.
Yeah.
So I would imagine most of that went to actors.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's a fairly big cast. But I mean, you can still do the fly on the wall thing with 35 millimeter.
Sure.
Right? You
Sure.
can still color grade it in a different way. I mean, it just looks shitty. even more so now. Right. Okay. But look, I mean, the history in this film, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. And it's such like inside baseball as well. I mean, we know minstrel shows, we know this stuff, but I mean, the way that they make the blackface, I thought that was, those details were really, really good.
Yeah.
So all of that was great. And I think we slept on Tommy Davidson.
Unfucking believable. I think Pinkett's really good in this too.
Great. Yeah.
But Tommy Davidson, like I and again, I think this is a movie that had it not have been the subject matter that it was, and of course, I mean, at that point, you throw it all out the window. But especially maybe if this movie is made today, Davidson.
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, look, think about the conversation we just had about American Fiction and how it's kind of trying to sort of, lull us in with this kind of like satire when really it's just a family drama. I mean, I think you and I would go see this movie, but I mean, would white audience go flock to Bamboozled now?
Flock to probably not.
Well, I mean, okay, look, people don't flock to much of anything. That's not what but
no, because no one wants to be slapped.
Or would there be like another like outcry of like, think so?
Right?
Just about like magical Negroes.
Why can they do it and we can't? Kind of thing, right?
Yeah, slavery. That's why. Ridiculous. I mean, I'm like,
well, yeah, it's I mean, what I think, and you're right about this. Is I think the most important part of this movie is how it does lay out all of this history, and it doesn't, that understanding that, then you start to understand why the cancellation of Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima are absolutely necessary. That and all of it, these how everything. All of our institutions are based on racism.
Yes,
and I think the conversations that are being had in this movie, especially between Delacroix and one of the other, there was another like radio host or whatever he was talking to about where slavery ended, and he's just talking about numbers and like there's dialogue in this movie that's just absolutely brilliant. I don't think this movie truly sticks its landing.
No,
but I think that's not necessarily, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the ending's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, where where she goes to confront him with the guy, that's kind of weird.
But I do think again, it's still all hyperbole in the sense of where we and I think, and again, not to this idea of how much we sell ourselves out and sell our people out and sell our community out and just in the chase of a dollar or chasing fame or likes or love or what have you is still a valid conversation. This idea that it, and again, so like he ends up shooting himself with her gun. Obviously that's it's a parable, right? At this point,
right? Well, because yes, and it's metaphorical in the way that he wrote this minstrel show as a joke, as a wake up call, right? And then once it becomes a hit, he's on board, right? And so who and what are you willing to sell out, and for what, right? And this brings, you said that this is still relevant today because this idea of currency and social status changes over time. And so, I will sell you out, Jason, for for sponsorship for this.
Right, I'll film you. I'll film me I'll film your worst moment and put it up on my TikTok.
Falling over in the chair.
Right, put it up on my TikTok.
I'm not going to help you.
Right, I'm gonna. Right, exactly.
But I would never know because I'm not on TikTok.
It'll be up there. It'll be up. Always be recording.
But I think we slept on Tommy Davidson. I think that Smith is great. Going back to American Fiction, I think Erica Alexander is amazing in that film. She doesn't have to do a whole lot to be really good either. I think she's someone else who's been underrated maybe for a long time.
A few things, and I don't know how you cut the comedy with it out being so like painfully obvious. And so some of it's funny and some of it like. But the moment in American Fiction where Monk is on the board of the reviewing the books for whatever the award,
the literary award,
and the moment of it teeters the line of being too much, but that the line where she's like, I think it's really important to listen to black voices these days, and then they're clearly ignoring the two black voices in the room.
Right, right. But again, like that's part of that film too, is this like this pandering ideology of white saviorness, right?
Right. Do you feel like, not that I'm sympathetic, but do you feel like that's almost too heavy-handed in some senses? Like this idea of like, and I'm not saying that this doesn't occur, and maybe it's just me projecting and wishing that it didn't, but this, when the publishers are like, when the overly effeminate, chubby,
marketing guy
is like, doesn't know the word for do-rag and I don't know. Some of that stuff is like, but
think about that guy. Do you really think he knows the word do-rag?
I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that guy.
No. But that's I mean, he has probably never lived anywhere than like the Upper East Side of Manhattan. That guy, that character. Right. Private school. Right, went straight into a decent level marketing job at a corporation or a publisher. Yeah, I mean, how many times do you think he's seen a do-rag?
Do you think American Fiction plays better if it's not played for comedy?
Yeah, I do.
Like if that's not played for, if that guy is not a comedic foil, if he's not played as a buffoon and just played as an idiot, which I know are two different fucking synonyms, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's not played for, oh, look at this funny guy that we all like, like I didn't understand what cap meant. Like that kind of shit. Like, if we're angry at that person, I think this movie plays a little bit better. I think this, that's my problem with American Fiction.
Is it too nice?
Is that it allows us to be comfortable with our bullshit.
Like, haha, look at those people. I'm glad I'm not like that.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it also presents this wonderful family that is struggling, and these people, these humans that are struggling. And then I don't know. Like I think we undercut it with, like I think the Adam Brody piece kind of works okay. Like that's a guy who's not stupid. He understands what he's doing. He's just a prick.
Yeah.
But now that we've got these people who are hemming and hawing over calling the book fuck, and then we're going to, I think it kind of, whereas something like Hollywood Shuffle is specifically just about this topic. Also, then adding these two different. I don't know if American Fiction really covers itself on both fronts really well.
So how would you compare the publishers in American Fiction to the filmmakers in Hollywood Shuffle?
Yeah, I think the filmmakers in Hollywood Shuffle are assholes.
Okay,
I don't think that they're played for. I think you're supposed to be disgusted when he says play it more black and stick your butt out more and like, and I think that guy is trying. He knows what he wants to say. He knows he wants to be racist, but he also can't do it. He also wants to be that fake ally. He wants to be making a movie he wants to be giving black people an opportunity, right? Okay. That's how he sees himself. And so this idea of like, he can allow himself to be shitty because he has power, but he's also giving these people a leg up and giving them money. Then I think you're supposed to see those guys as being dicks. It is. And like their moments of humor are like grotesque. You see her with like, you see them saying things over and over again and her kind of like mawing, so it's gross, right?
Yeah. So let me ask this question. Do you think then the publishers in American Fiction are acting the way they are because of quote unquote cancel culture? Like, are they sort of doing that pandering thing because they're worried about saying the wrong thing and getting in trouble when they know they can sell this book for a ton of money?
I'd buy it if it wasn't for like the do-rag line.
Okay. No. I mean, and I don't know that I really believe that myself, but I'm like wondering because they are clownish. Right. I mean, they really are like cartoon characters at that point. And it's like, why no one in that woman's position in publishing is going to sort of act like that. I mean, there may be some kind of pain ring, but they're not going to just,
right.
Turn into a submissive puppy at that point.
Let me ask this one question about American Fiction. Why, or not about American Fiction, but about why isn't Jeffrey Wright in everything?
Oh, he's amazing. He's fantastic.
And I hope that this is a role that does, I mean, I know that he's known, right? And I know he's in Wes Anderson things, but this guy should be leading things, like constantly leading things. Like there should be a slew of scripts that are at his doorstep.
Like what did he did Basquiat,
which is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Was that
96?
That was Schnabel, right?
Yeah. 95. Yeah, I know, right? It had to be fucking Schnabel. He's such a prick. Yeah.
And he always was.
Mm-hmm. So self-important.
Well before he started making films.
Right.
I mean, just as a painter, just what a prick. So American Fiction, he was in, Asteroid City, and I guess he's in Rust, and he was in the Batman.
He's mostly I mean, like, I think his breakout was Westworld, right? I mean, as far as like most recent breakout, he was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Not that
he's always good in those James Bond films.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always good.
He's good in everything.
He's just never really had that. I mean, is this his first, other than Basquiat? Is this his first like I'm the star of this?
I think so.
That's fucking awful. That is terrible. I had no idea he was in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
I didn't know that either.
Or in Presumed Innocent. Well, anyway.
It's been a minute since I've seen Presumed Innocent.
Speaking of, I didn't know that Townsend auditioned for SNL and lost out to Murphy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm like, oh shit, that's amazing.
Also, then why don't you just take both of them? I mean, obviously, fuck you.
Right.
Dudikoff and Brandon. Yeah, was Dudikoff, was it that?
What?
Who was the lead of SNL at that time? It wasn't Lorne Michaels. Lorne Michaels was gone at that point.
Oh, because he came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this was like 81, 82, right? So
it's not Dudikoff because that's the guy who played American Ninja. So it's Brandon Tartikoff or something like that.
Which the black guy from the American Ninja movies
is in Hollywood Shuffle. That guy's fucking amazing.
I know. Yeah. I kind of wish that
he's also the good football coach in Johnny Be Good, Robert Downey Jr.
I do kind of wish that Bamboozled was even meaner than it is.
How would you make it meaner?
I don't know. I feel like that it I feel like it could have more of a sneer to it. I know this sounds weird.
It doesn't
because
quite.
it is kind of. I mean, I know it is mean, but I do feel like it could lean into that even more.
The audience doesn't really get its comeuppance.
Yeah,
and so that's the. I mean, aside from, because I don't think the audience when Man Ray gets killed at the end, I don't think that the audience would take that upon themselves as saying that we did this, right?
Yeah.
So in the end, when you've got the Sicilian and the Latina and the old white woman and all of them saying what they're saying, all of them in blackface, I don't think that it gets. I mean, I understand the point of that scene, and I understand this appropriation, which is fucking brilliant,
but also makes us complicit watching the film.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And maybe that's what I mean. Maybe I should feel like even worse after.
Well, and I think the entire credit scene is supposed to make you start like that. That's
just,
it's amazing. And it's really that scene, that whole sequence. And then the sequence that he has at the end of BlacKkKlansman, like I was in tears. I just, that fucking killed me. And he does that so well, like his use of music. And then that whole like compilation of short, I mean, like of bits is just, it's unbelievable. But yeah, I'm with you. It would be nice to have, I don't know, the building collapse. But I think that's his point though, right? I think the point is
we get away with it,
right? That the people who suffer are the ones who have to do the inner turmoil and the ones who end up actually getting killed because they were partaking in it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm always blown away by it. And I hadn't seen it in a while since when I watched it again. And I remember loving it when it came out. And I'm always kind of blown away by people. I think the reason it's not more highly rated is that it just makes people too uncomfortable. I don't think people can wrap their heads around accepting the racist images that they're seeing, and then also taking in the message that you're supposed to be taking in. And I know Spike rubs people the wrong way. Some people, I mean, Spike's not Spike's a filmmaker that's not for everybody, but I don't know. He pushes the buttons.
No, but he's. I mean, no, I really like Spike Lee as well, and I mean, I think he's unapologetic in what he's trying to do, and so I mean, fuck people that don't like Spike Lee. I guess. I mean, he does. I mean, and he doesn't care, right?
Right.
I mean, I think like his biggest frustration of people not liking him is not being able to get funding to make movies, right? I mean, and I wonder how much of that. Also, again, I'm going to go back to the shooting on Mini DV. I wonder how much of that played into him making that choice. I don't know. I don't know. I can't let it go.
I understand.
Because, I mean, it's so good. That's the, whatever. It's a fantastic film. I hadn't seen it in a long time either. So, yeah, anyway.
Didn't we solve like the Israel-Palestinian thing last month? Or,
yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. And so now we've
solved black relations.
Yeah, hey, so. Now because of us, we're in a post-racial society.
Right. It was Obama and then us.
Yeah. You're welcome.
So yeah, I mean, what are the big societal problems? I guess we'll tackle the LGBTQ groups next, right?
Yeah, and
women's rights.
Women's rights.
Yeah,
and I think we are the two straight men to tackle women's rights and fix everything. Look, we have ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have.
I've got some ideas.
I like anytime, because I will get this question from like time to time, right? Especially like teaching, where I'll get these questions about thoughts on like abortion and other issues. And I'm just like, my thought is that it's not up to me. People look at me, I'm like,
and right. It's okay not to have, it's okay not to think about things.
Yeah. No, it's not up to me because it's not my body.
Sure.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Brock's not a big thinker. It's fine. That's what he's really trying to come over. It's what he's trying to impart here.
What I'm trying to say is that
it's somebody else's problem.
I have a brain. I don't use it, right? I care, but also fuck you.
If it's on my front porch, I'll deal with it. Until then,
leave me alone.
Right. Go figure it out yourself.
How does this concern me? How is this my problem? I don't know. I'll be dead by then, right?
Right. We'll all be dead by then.
Anything else you want to say about race relations in America or those three films?
Buckle in, folks.
Yeah, buckle. Have you seen? When was the last time you saw Fear of a Black Cat?
It's been a long while.
Yeah, I put it on the other day, like, and kind of just like, bits and pieces of it, and it's a trip.
Yeah,
it is a trip. And Cundiff, who did that film, is also in Hollywood Shuffle, which is interesting. So,
I need to go and watch see what's on the extra features on the Criterion. I would love to see how he pulled all those people together and got that, and was just basically the day-to-day of that film has got to be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was an easy film to make. I mean, just financially, right? So.
No, I mean, like the trailers for it were like, hey, I've spent a lot of money. Please go see this movie kind of thing. Like,
yeah. Because, I mean, it was a lot of his own money that he put into it.
Right.
And then, so I read two differing reports where one was that he didn't ask for funding. And then another was that he couldn't secure funding from people that he was asking, but just couldn't get it. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I just think that that's kind of an interesting, because then you got the distribution through MGM, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw fucking, what did I see? I saw The Beekeeper, and that's being produced by Miramax. And the intro for the Miramax logo looks like the old HBO 80s. Like, it's fucking bonkers. It was just really weird. It looked like an old, like, coming soon on video cassette. Like, it was, I was so out of left field for, like, it's like, we're the new nice Miramax. Don't forget all about the Weinstein stuff.
Right,
like,
forget about that. That wasn't. Well, and it's also like, didn't Orion do American Fiction?
Yeah, and it looks like a fucking, I don't know, like a Tron disc or something at this point. Like,
and I'm like, didn't Orion go away for a little bit?
I think
wasn't
so.
it like then revived and stuff? So, okay. What's coming next will be canon.
Right.
That'll be the next one.
We're bringing it back, folks.
Only 2 more Cassavetes.
Right. We're going to AI Cassavetes films at this point.
Yeah.
It's been a shitty month for films, by the way. It's like, and not that anything that's been released has been, I mean, besides American Fiction, has been good. Like, I saw and then I've seen films that you'll never see, but I saw Night Swim, which was fucking shit.
I'll see Night Swim.
It was
I don't think it's going to be very good. That's not why it's it, but I mean, I'll watch it.
But The Beekeeper was the dumbest fucking movie I've ever seen. Not ever seen, but one of the ones in a really long time. And Statham like sleepwalks through it.
Of course.
And then The Book of Clarence was bullshit. But
okay. Well, I haven't had a chance to go see that yet because I have other things.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about it on this.
We can definitely talk about it. It's worth talking about. And I'm interested to see. Don't let my
No, I won't.
comment.
I mean, I think it looks provocative. I'm interested to see how the story plays out and what they do with said story. I also, I'll save it. Here's something I wanted to ask you before we get into the next segment of the show. Earlier on, I think several episodes, you have lamented the year in film.
Mm-hmm.
What constitutes a good year?
I mean,
is it the number of good films that are in theaters? Is it the number of available films in theaters? And this is not like, I'm just curious. I
don't think you can, I don't think that there's anything like looking back at this year. And I confirmed my suspicions looking back at the films of the year while we were trying to put together the Screamies, is that this has not been a good year for film. And I think what I'd look at it is if I look at the movies that I'm actually going to remember 10, 15, 20 years from now, like, and rewatchability of films, there's nothing. I mean, like there are good films here, but there's maybe 10 that I feel are worthwhile.
Okay.
And like, that may constitute a good year, but I looked at the American releases, and most of them are bullshit.
Yeah,
I mean, like, look, you can like I think, look, the ones that we'll continue to talk about year over year. I think you're going to continue to talk about Oppenheimer because it's a big tentpole film. I think you're going to continue to talk about Barbie because that's going to live on for a good long while. I think Past Lives will have some legs. I think that's going to film that people are going to.
Future lives.
Yes, it will have future lives. That'll be the sequel. I think that will be one of those films that people go back, and then they'll forget, and then they'll rediscover and forget and rediscover.
Yeah.
Outside of that, like, I don't think people are ever going to talk about Killers. Like, you don't talk about The Irishman. You don't, like, we're not going to talk about Killers of the Flower Moon. It's too long. It's not good. No one's going to fucking remember that shit. It'll be for Scorsese dorks, and that's going to be basically it.
Yeah.
And then tell me what else you think about. Like, American Fiction, I don't think is going to stick around. I think that's going to float. I don't know, like, in the other films that are on my list, like they're not big enough. Like, Poor Things, I think will fall into that weird, if you've seen it, you really love it, but I don't know if it's going to make a dent on pop culture. Beau is Afraid. I don't think that one is. I think that one's going to get kind of lost in the A24 shuffle. So yeah, man, I don't see this as being a particularly strong. And even like your popcorn films, like won't resonate. Indiana Jones won't resonate. Fast 10 won't resonate. None of the superhero movies will resonate. Like, you won't go back and look at this and go, oh shit, man, I remember 2023, and it was just like banger after banger. And there's a handful of films, and that's basically it.
Okay. So, one word answer from you. Are you excited for the Screamies?
I am fucking stoked for the Screamies. Sorry, I didn't use one word. Yes.
Okay, welcome, Screamers, to the first annual Screamie Awards. The Screamie is given in recognition of achievements, or lack thereof, in direction, performance, and should-haves that represent Wilhelm's iconoclasm and overall opinionated views during the previous year. With this year's show, we invite you to check your scream-lege. Okay, Jason, let's jump into our first category.
I should have brought some envelopes to like.
This is the category of most overlooked or most underrated film of the year. So,
all right, I'll go first.
Yes.
My most overlooked film, I think, was 1001. This one came out, I don't remember exactly when it came out. It was early in the year, and it seemed like it dumped directly almost on HBO Max or something. But a really, really brilliant story of a young woman who has, I don't want to give anything away if you haven't seen it, but a young woman and the child that she's taking care of, and her plight to keep under the radar so they can stay together. I think it was really, really well done. I don't think a lot of people talked about it when it came out, and I think it's kind of it doesn't really have a whole lot of award accolades at this point, and I think that's a fucking shame. I think this is one of those films, like, if you look at, and again, I know awards are bullshit, right?
That's why we're doing this show.
But I wish that there exists, and I know there's like an independent spirit and there's things like, but I wish that these all weren't like self-congratulatory jerk-off fests where we do the same films over and over and over again. I wish there was a venue where, because this is much better than most of the shit that is being awarded right now. And
well, this was one of the reasons I'm sorry, not to interrupt you, but this
fine.
is one of the reasons I asked you that question about like a good year, because I feel like there have been a lot of good films, but also like a lot of dross. And so,
yeah,
I mean, not to argue that, but it's like, man, there's been some really good stuff that we just don't talk about.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I think that's part of it too, right? Is that this idea of a good year, it needs to have these films be recognized. You talk about like good years of like, and I know that a lot of these films like 99 and 84, they're all blockbuster years, but there are good years where most of the shit was independent cinema that we did pick up kind of, and that were, smaller releases that were championed. And like, we've lamented over the past number of episodes that it just doesn't happen anymore.
I think it's like every episode.
right.
that we lament.
In fact, we just record that once and then we cut it in every episode.
Yeah, each time. Like, I'll go back and like do a little bit of voiceover work just to make it varied enough, right?
Doing the Pierre Delacroix voice on it. Yeah.
Yes, the one I hate so much. All right, so I think there's been like quite a bit of overlooked, kind of underrated films. And I think even films like Fancy Dance, starring Lily Gladstone, that haven't found a distributor yet, I mean, fall into that. That was a hit at Sundance and other festivals, but still not out there. Films like The Five Devils, right, starring a fan of our show, Adele Exarchopoulos, Monster, which we've talked about on this show.
Right, yeah.
They Clone Tyrone, I think, is an overlooked,
that was on my list.
Right, underrated film too.
Earth Mama was on mine as well. Like, and I cannot believe that, like, for an organization like A24 to kind of fumble the release of Earth Mama is bizarre to me. I felt like this was going to be like their prestige film that they were really, really going to push. And I never even heard that it came out.
Right.
And that was crazy to me. That was the closing night film of not that the Oak Cliff Film Festival is the biggest film festival in the world, but I mean, like, that was a significant film that just got completely dropped and ignored.
But that was a film that was talked a lot about at festivals.
Yeah.
And I mean, another film that fell victim, I think maybe to the strike as well, was Problemista, which I know hasn't come out yet. But
right.
But
and I'll be interested to see how that one actually does get distributed and gets promoted.
March, I think. Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was surprised that one didn't come out at all. So
I know.
But like, I felt like Earth Mama never came out. So
right. So this plays into my winner for this award, which is another A24 film that premiered at Sundance. It's a poetic lyrical film by Raven Jackson called All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's ever hit the theater. I mean, I don't understand, right? But it's also like I've heard it talked about and I've seen it written about in just the past couple months. So I wonder if it's been playing somewhere. But my point is that this is one that we really just overlooked. And it deserves so much more attention. I hope it gets it somehow. Because it's really good. And I know that it's been on streaming. It's on like VOD. And it has been, I think,
for a while.
Yeah. So, but this goes back to that. It's a weird A24 year. They've got these like prestige films, and they're not doing anything with them.
Yeah, if you're not Aster or if it seems like you don't get the praise or the play. I don't necessarily know what their distribution, how that all works. But again, we continually talk about theaters that have empty screens. Like, how hard is it to provide a digital file? You don't have to fucking advertise it. You don't have to do, you don't have to do anything, but at least get people the opportunity to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to me that we're filling shit and you're letting films last in these theaters that no one's, trick it up. Throw it out there. What's the harm? I mean, it's crazy.
Another, and before we move on from this category, I do want to sort of point out another film that I think is completely overlooked and underrated, and that's Kelly Reichardt Showing Up. Mm-hmm. I don't think that, and again, another fucking A24 film that's really good.
Yeah.
And got no attention. I mean, it's got a nice Blu-ray issue, but yeah. Okay, so our winners for most overlooked, mine was All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt, and Jason's was 1,000. I almost said Earth Mama. 1,001 with Tiana Taylor. All right, this next category, Screamers, is a very special one. This is the film that would make the best porn parody. Now, I want to make sure to emphasize the word parody. We are not saying that the actors and actresses within these films should make a porno film, right? Oh, at least I'm not.
No.
But a parody, a spoof of, right? Okay, go ahead, Jason.
All right. Well, so there were like a couple
this will be good.
There were quite a few movies that actually had porn titles just straight up anyway. It Lives Inside, Bottoms, She Came to Me. All three of those, fine. And so I played with a bunch. I have quite a few here, and then I'll get
Okay.
I'll give you my winner. But these are the
Nominees?
The nominees. The nominees are 80 and Brady, Big George's foreskin.
What?
That was Big George Foreman.
Oh, you changed the.
That's what I'm doing here. Is that not what you did? You just talked about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't change the title.
Oh, okay. That's what
Go ahead.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
Okay. So
A Humping with Penis, which is a haunting in Venice.
okay. All right.
Master Hardener. Getting off behind her. Getting off behind her. Eat the world's behind.
Oh my god.
But my winner, the winner of the porn parody of the major release that should be made was Drillers of the Powdered Poon.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. So I think we took
Different interpretations.
So warned in like different interpretations. So Jason made a porn parody title. I kept the title the same, but I thought, what if the scenario of the film itself was turned into a porno film?
Okay. All right.
Right.
I'm with you.
So same plot, same whatever, right? And we did have some crossover. I also had a haunting in Venice, right, in here. I was like, what would this look like? A seance?
We have a title for it.
Sort of like, yeah, right? I think too that Medusa Deluxe would make a good like porn parody. With just think about all the hair and the opportunity to highlight that. Asteroid City could be a fun like.
I tried to play with that one, but I couldn't get the oid part down.
Yeah.
I had ass and titties, but I didn't have the oid.
I'm visualizing what this film might look like. Ass and titties, but not the oids.
There's no good oid word.
Something void.
Yeah, I know. I was like ass void titties, but I couldn't. It was close. I was, but I couldn't quite nail the landing.
Okay. But the film that
Hi, Mom. How you doing?
I mean, look, you've seen like Star Trek porn parodies. And
Sure.
So
right.
this is what I was thinking, right? So my winner is the alien home invasion film. No One Will Save You.
She's just getting sexually assaulted by aliens the entire time. Like she's naked, but like
no. See, this is what I'm saying. It's not like assaulted, right? But you can, instead of like the cable guy coming over or the pizza delivery guy, it's aliens,
just gigantic aliens.
Yes, and they're all different and like
gang banging Caitlin Deaver.
No, then this was my disclaimer where it's
it wasn't
not
the same people.
It's not the same people. That's what I was saying. That's why I said that, right? That this is a parody,
right.
not starring the same actors and actresses.
Starring Caitlin Beaver.
Caitlin. Yes. Okay, all right, okay. So there was that. Let's move on.
Now I want you to say Drillers of the Flowered Poon.
So Jason's winner was Drillers of the Flower Poon, or Drillers of the Powdered Poon. I'm sorry.
Right.
And mine is a porn parody of an alien home invasion movie, not starring Caitlin Beaver.
All right, what's our next category?
All right, the next category is what film would have been a better film if done by A, Elaine May, and B, John Cassavetes. So 2 films here?
2 films here.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So my film that would have been better had it been directed by Elaine May is Jennifer Lawrence's No Hard Feelings.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's a good one.
Would have been much more edgy, biting,
Yeah.
And just absolutely funnier.
So let me give you my main choice. I was thinking of stuff like Anyone But You and even The Holdovers. I would think, this would be interesting, right? But what I settled on, and I kind of went the same direction with both, was what if Elaine May did The Killer?
See, I was toying with that one too. Okay. Yeah.
And I thought, how much more nuance would this be? How much less clever and less cliched would this be? She did Mikey and Nikki. Now here's a take on like a solo kind of hitman who's very insular. Yeah.
I like it. I'd watch it.
Come on, Elaine.
You still got it in you. And my film that would have been better if it had been directed by John Cassavetes was A Good Person.
Oh. Fuck yeah. Oh, that'd be a good movie.
Yeah, that'd be better than what we got.
Oh, holy shit.
I mean, look, Zach Braff is our generation's John Cassavetes for
Fuck
sure.
you.
But
oh, that's good. Okay, the one that I picked for Cassavetes, and this is where they kind of like match up, is Eileen.
Yeah.
I thought that Cassavetes did Eileen. You get something, this kind of mix of, I mean, almost like what Gloria was.
Right, right.
And these two women, you know, in a kind of strange dance. So, yeah. All right. See, those would have been much better films. All right. So, speaking of films that would have been better with blank, what film would have been better had Florence Pugh been in it?
this is the one where I struggled. So I'm going to.
I didn't hear. Look, the answer is every film.
Well, sure. Absolutely. Yes. Every film.
So now give us your choice. There's mine.
The film that would have been better and the role that she would have been played, she could have played Keith Von Erich in Iron Claw. She's already in Fighting with the Family.
Fighting with my
right?
family.
I mean, she already has the wrestling, and it would have been hands down better than what Zac Efron brought.
Okay, wait. All right, because I want to talk about Iron Claw. I want to talk about Iron Claw when we talk about the Book of Clarence, because
that's fair.
I disagree with you.
That Zac Efron wasn't good?
I think he was good.
Okay.
I think he was good, and I disagree.
I actually
with
haven't seen it, so.
Oh, well, then fuck you. I mean, okay.
Look, I'm just making assumptions on what I know about Zac Efron and what I know about Florence Pugh. And we've already said
so
that
that's not that's not wrong, because here, let me jump in here.
I mean,
be serious.
I'll
for a
accept
second.
your fuck you. That's not.
Well, I know. Why wouldn't you? I did wonder, like, what would Florence Pugh have been like in Lily James's role in Iron Claw? So I was thinking about that. I did take this category seriously. I just think she should be in every film that I watch.
Yeah, I toyed around with like she would have like you're right. It's all of them.
Yeah,
it's all of them. In every role, she would have been better in every role.
I wanted to put her in Eileen, but I don't know who she would play, because the Eileen character needs to be kind of like mousy and sort of submissive. And then the femme fatale, I can't remember her name now, the femme fatale, Rebecca, needs to be a blonde Anne Hathaway,
right,
tall and sort of long. And I mean, you've already mentioned how sort of non-traditionally attractive Florence Pugh is. So
right.
I don't think you need to categorize her attractiveness. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to
No,
add
that's
there?
basically it.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
All right. Then let's move on to something a little more serious, and that is the most overhyped or overrated film.
All right. This one, we had a lot this year. There were a lot to choose from, but I ultimately landed on John Wick 4.
Oh,
because this was universally loved, and it is garbage. Like, it's not like it's well, let me say this, that it's 3 fucking hours long. And right. And I know we complain about long movies on this moot pot, but like, this is 3 hours long of gun porn.
Yeah.
Right. And look, I like Keanu. I like Keanu in these roles where he's,
and we know you like porn.
He's playing. Yeah, absolutely. And where he's playing a dum-dum, and like where he's playing right in Keanu's sweet spot. Right. But we're on 4 here, and 3 hours of constant. If every minute is action, then no minutes are action. We know if everyone's special, then no one is.
Well, I think we're all special in our own way.
And so we have to sit through, and also it's 20, I'm not, again, I don't want to be that guy where we can't have nice things because there's always some asshole trying to ruin it. But like, are we in 2024 when we have a mass shooting once every couple of days where we're really truly championing this like really just fetishism of gun violence? And again, I know how that sounds. Look, if this had been an hour 90 and it would have just been, and like just a few things here and there, but like we've leveled off 300,000 bullets in this film, and it's just boring. It's trite, and I don't understand. Like, it wasn't like, even if the action sequences were well choreographed, 3 hours of them is like eating, it's just like, eating a fine meal but overdoing it, right? It's just, I mean, like there was no
like
nuance
that Monty
to this
Python
film.
skit,
Right?
Where that, yeah,
right.
No, and I meant that like in all seriousness.
Yeah,
right?
I don't understand. Like, I don't really understand the love of the level of love for these films is kind of mind boggling to me. But this one it's just like, why are we all excited about a 3-hour John Wick?
Like you said, it's just gunpoint.
When you could have made 2 John Wicks and like released them later. I mean, like, I don't know. It was just like I said, everyone gushed about this movie. It was not so good.
Why do you think certain movies will get blamed for violence and other movies won't? Like, why? I mean, we see shootings, we see whatever, and I think a lot of leaders in this country will say, "Oh, well, it's video games, it's rap music, it's this and that," but we don't hear that about John Wick.
I think the soup du jour now is mental illness, so now we just kind of blanket that as right. I mean, like, it was whatever we could point to say it wasn't the guns, and so for a while it's movies. For the next time it's first person shooters, and now it's mental illness, and that, and capitalism, consumerism didn't allow us to do anything about movies or because it was art, or video games because it was consumerism. And mental health because we're too fucking lazy and we don't want to do anything about that anyway. Yeah. And we're also still not going to address the gun problem either. So
right.
Cool.
Or address the mental illness problem. Right.
Right.
We're not going to do anything. Here's the problem, but no, we're not going to. We can't afford to do.
We've identified it. That's all we need.
That's it, right?
Knowing is half the battle, I think, if not all of it.
Okay, so this was another category for me with a lot of potential winners, and I even think, I think of films like Saltburn. Mm-hmm. Just with like all of the talking about and the, oh my God, this film. But I even think sort of the Barbenheimer thing sort of could fall into this category with the kind of overhypeness and all that. And you even talked about, when we talked about Anatomy of a Fall, you clocked this as overrated, right?
Right.
And The Killer is overrated, but I'm giving my Screamie to Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm tired of people apologizing for this movie and saying it's good.
It really has gotten out of hand.
Yes.
I'm tired because it continues.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Like, we're all waiting for this thing, right? Because, the Scorsese bros come out in force. And now everyone's like, oh, no, it's on every top 10 list ever. Every top 5. It's a masterpiece. I'm like, is it though?
It's not even a top 5. I mean, like, clearly. I mean, it's bottom of the barrel of Scorsese. Yeah. Like, it's not. It's really. I find the love of this and the lack of analysis. I know that makes me sound pompous, but like, I do feel like this is the Washington Redskins of movies. This is we're not listening to.
Gotcha.
We're not listening to the people who should be listened to, right?
Yeah.
And we're allowing. Oh, it's fine because it's a prestige filmmaker. It's not because because the team sucks.
It took me a minute because now it's the Washington football team,
right?
Or the Commanders.
The Commanders, yeah.
Sorry,
but it is just like that. We got a few people involved, and now we're patting ourselves on the back for representation. But what we did is we basically took it away from them, and we told a bad story. And we told it about the white people of this story and used the people of color as a set dressing, which is what the fucking film is supposed to be against, right? I mean, that's the whole intent. And what I find disturbing is I don't feel like people are. I feel like people don't realize that. I feel like people, and this is again, we go back to fucking American Fiction and Bamboozled. Yes, there are stories we don't fucking get to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
There are roles you don't get to fucking play. And maybe at some point when the pendulum swings back or we're all fucking one, maybe. But at this point, you don't get to fucking tell this story and stop trying to do and stop patting yourself on the back for doing it. You took money away from people who could have told this story better, who could have told this story accurately, who could have told this story and been representative. and you ran with it, and now you're patting again. You're the fucking producer in Hollywood Shuffle.
Yeah.
You're the filmmaker in Hollywood Shuffle, and it's not as blatant and it is not as grotesque in that same way, but it's still fucking grotesque. And the fact that we're not talking about it, or that some people are and they're being ignored, then fuck that. Fuck that and fuck this movie. Yeah, we've only talked about it before. I fucking hate this movie.
I know. I was gonna say I didn't want to
but I'm with you. And that's kind of why I was like, I didn't like. I'm with you on the Screamie on this. Fuck. Go watch Thrillers of the Powdered Poon. The film that will be made.
Apparently, Jason only has a story credit on that one, so everything else has been taken over. The next category is the Pretty Girls Don't Wear Glasses Award. Now, let's do some explaining here, right? So this is an award. How would you say that this title is tongue-in-cheek? Mm-hmm. It is a satirical title, and us calling attention to all the myriad ways that Hollywood, the fashion industry, pop music, whatever, tries to identify what beauty is, or tries to legislate beauty, and that a girl who wears glasses is clearly ugly. And I always think back to the scene in The Big Sleep where Bogart goes into the bookstore, and this woman who's working in the bookstore is clearly attractive and attracted to him. And at one point he looks at her and he's like, "Do you have to wear?" and points to the glasses. And she takes off the glasses. Then he just kind of goes, "There she is." And I'm just like, what? She was already like, why? Okay. Or she's all that, right? She takes off the glasses, right. She puts on a dress, and all of a sudden,
that's Superman.
She's like, I know. Yes, right? Same thing with Superman. So that's how this award works. What film, and I think we might have different sort of, I took a sort of theoretical approach to this.
And mine was Clifton in The Blackening.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Do you want to say more?
No, I'm gonna let you go with act. I'm gonna let you come to the realization of how good of an answer it was, and then you start to
That's a really good answer. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, no, I mean he looks like that, so he's sort of unassuming, and they don't suspect him of being the big bad in this film,
right? Because he's a nerd. He's a black nerd. He wears glasses. He's the Urkel of the group.
So it's black men don't wear glasses,
right? Black men don't wear glasses.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. All right. So this is where I took a much kind of more, I think, theoretical approach. And I went with Rachel Sennett and Ayo Edebiri in Bottoms.
Okay.
Because you tried to make them.
No, I think you're not talking about me in general, but this is one of the ones that I was like, I still feel uncomfortable about this. Not sure how I can talk about this and
no, that's fine.
Not get on a registry somewhere.
But even in the film, over the PA announcer in school, right? The principal's like, with the ugly, untalented gays come to the office. And I'm like, there's no way to make them. I mean, you're just saying, because they're nerdy, they're ugly, but they're not. And so, I don't know. I mean, but in theory, and I think the movie's playing with that sort of trope anyway.
Right.
But that's where I went with that. Yeah. You're just like, okay, all right. So, what was a movie that you were surprised got made? So, we'll call this the How Did This Get Made? Screamie. The Screamie for How Did This Movie Get Made?
I think, and we talked about this when we talked about this movie, but my award for How Did This Get Made is Beau is Afraid. It's $35 million. It's the most expensive up until the release for next year, which is Alex Garland's Civil War. It is the most expensive A24 film. $35 million psychotherapy session for Ari Aster to get off his chest his mom problems. Not that I didn't love it, but I don't. And it made 11.5, and they ended up I think they ended up saying they lost they lost $30 million on it. I don't know how you went into a pitch meeting. And unless you just and Astor was like, look, I'll make 4 or 5 more films for you and you can cut my fee. I don't know how you thought that this movie, you had to have read the script, how this movie was going to make anything back.
There's no way they thought it was going to make anything back.
Right.
There's no way.
So I don't know how you. I mean, like, look, I'm good on you, and I'm happy that you did it. But 35 mil to make that film is bonkers to me, knowing that you are basically flushing it down the toilet.
But are they building cachet? Right? Are they?
Do they need to though?
I don't know. Or I mean, is Astor like, look, maybe I'll do a Nolan and go somewhere else?
Yeah, or Focus or something. Yeah, maybe, who knows?
I mean, what is A24's long game? Right? What are they thinking? Are they thinking if we give this guy this, then maybe other people will come and do other things? I don't know. I mean, I'm clearly not a business person.
I would imagine they want to keep Astor in you know, this is not the house that Astor built necessarily, but it's definitely not that either, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
I don't mean to be facetious in that same sense, or
no, he's an important part of that stable or that roster, right?
And so, yeah, I mean, but still 30. You couldn't have talked him down a little bit to like 25.
Isn't most of it construction paper?
Right.
I don't know.
The giant attic dick cost like 15.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of paper mache, animatronic paper mache,
and the rest was Parker Posey's salary,
which look,
which is well deserved, right? Well deserved.
So I also had Beau is Afraid, but I had a backup because of that, and so both of the movies I had for this were movies that I really liked. Right. But still, like, I scratch my head, like, how did this actually happen? So my winner would be Barbie.
Okay. Yeah. How about that?
So Barbie is my winner for the how did this get made, Screamie.
Yeah, it is one of those films that is like, it is better than it deserved to be. And it is surprising that you put a $150 million tentpole on Greta Gerwig's shoulders, who had really proven herself at that point. Not with something like that. Not that large. I mean, like, and I'm not. This is not a denigration of Greta Gerwig, but I mean, like,
she doesn't make blockbuster movies, though.
Right. So yeah, it's surprising that the Jesus, whatever the fuck's happening in Fort Worth tonight is very scary.
Look, this is a nice neighborhood. I don't
Brock's coming out with his version of Hollywood Shuffle here in a little bit. But yeah, no, it's a good call. It is a good call because it is like, this is a movie that's been bandied about for quite a long time too. Right. Sharon Stone took a hack at it. I mean, like, obviously Amy, what's her face, took a hack at it. So why can't I pull her name?
I don't know.
Train wreck.
Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, because she did that movie Trainwreck, not because she is a train wreck. Okay, I didn't know.
Right.
This is a movie that Amy Taubin called a movie about a fucking doll. So I mean, like, yeah. No, and I don't think she meant that in this in a negative way, but she's like, it's a movie about a doll. I mean, and so, but like in that, like, yeah, it's surprising that.
I mean, we've had blockbuster bullshit though before. That seems like a weird statement to make. I mean, we made a movie about fucking Ouija boards and Battleship and.
Oh yeah,
I mean, so like, there's been bullshit movies for forever. So, you know, all right, I get it, but I mean, still.
So our next category is near miss, and I'm assuming because we did our due diligence on developing these categories, that this is a movie that almost works but doesn't quite work.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
Yeah. Okay. So,
and mine is Drillers of the Powdered Poon.
So close, folks. So close.
I had a couple for me.
This is a real film. You did it.
One of them was Theater Camp. And it had all the right ingredients, but focused way too much on the adults rather than the kids for me. But that's not the one I chose. The one I chose was Dry Ground Burning.
Oh, okay.
And because it's such an interesting topic. It's such a fertile, ground to
God.
Right. I couldn't go anywhere else with it, so I kind of dug myself into that hole.
Dug into the dry ground.
God,
it just keeps going.
Like literally this hole that I've dug. into dry ground. Keeps going. But yeah, it was one that I wanted to like really, and it just didn't hit for me. So yeah, dry ground burning is my near miss screaming.
And mine is similar in the respect I picked Foe. Paul Mescal, Saoirse Ronan. I saw this at the Heartland Film Festival and was excited to see it. And I think it's now streaming on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't quite work. The idea is really great. This idea of we're in this post-apocalyptic world, right? The Earth is dying, and people have to go up and work at the space station, from time to time. And what they do is they leave your partner with basically like a copy of you.
Right.
And so this kind of, looks at that experiment, what happens between the two people. And so the idea is great. And the performances, the 3 performances are all fantastic, but it just doesn't quite come together. So yeah, Foe.
All right.
Yeah.
This is the least coveted Screamie award, by the way.
The near miss.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
everyone else leans into it. Even the ones that are like most overrated. And yeah, okay, fine, fuck you. Then I'll take that one.
I'll own it.
Right.
All right. Okay. So the next one is 5 must screams.
You just want to go back and forth. I don't have them in any order.
Sure.
They clone Tyrone. That was one of my.
Oh, okay. See, I was going to say I think my list is going to be fairly basic. But these are films that I think are going to be at least part of some kind of discourse of like art, emotion, and philosophy. Well, that sounded pretentious. I'm sorry. So the first one I'll give you is Past Lives.
Mm-hmm. That's on my list as well. So.
Oh, okay.
Past Lives is on my list.
All right. So then I also have Anatomy of a Fall.
Okay. I'll give you Poor Things.
That's on my list as well.
All right. Then I'll give you Master Gardener.
Oh, okay. I'll give you Showing Up.
Okay. And then I'll give you Bottoms as my last one.
Oh, okay. I put Dream Scenario.
I think Bottoms for me.
No, you're right.
Well, I'm not. I like Dream Scenario. I think Bottoms for me. This is Bottoms. Past Lives will do fine on its own. It's already walking. It's good. I feel like Bottoms needs some help to grab that cultural cachet that it absolutely deserves.
Yeah.
This this should be championed like Heathers or Mean Girl. This should be a staple of teen comedies for years and years to come. And I don't quite know why it hasn't gotten there. And that's bothersome to me.
Yeah. And I don't understand the people that don't like it.
Yeah, I don't
get it. I don't
really.
get it.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's you have to. That doesn't lay out the satire for you on a silver platter, but it's also not that difficult to grasp either.
It's really not. I mean, the men wear their football uniforms the entire time. They never take them off.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not that hard to. I think it's great, and I think just everything about it is great. I think. The point of view is, I think Seligman is really good as a director.
Yeah.
And I think all of the performances are good in that movie. And they're all, Marshawn Lynch, getting that turn out of Marshawn Lynch, I think is great.
Is it something that that films just have a harder time capturing and can kind of retaining that level of attention? Because if you look at something like Booksmart or Lady Bird or things that should have been seminal, like the last real teen movie that has stuck has been Superbad.
And how long ago was that?
I mean, a good while. I mean, because that's the beginning of Emma Stone. That's beginning of not Sarah, but really, but Seth for sure. So,
yeah. And I mean,
not Seth. That's something.
I got you, Jonah.
Right, Jonah Hill. Yeah.
And I mean that kind of, and then you get a lot more of that Apatovian.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff after that too.
Sure.
So I don't know. I mean, what is our appetite for movies like now? I mean, the average theater goer, which is the average streamer. I mean, is it movies like this, or is it just IP driven stuff? Is it just?
Well, even that's not
really. Yeah, I know. I was going to say,
what are the films? What are the films that we're talking about from 5 years ago that aren't Marvel based that just kind of pop up everywhere? Like the comedies that exist on the the channels, whatever the fucking channels are, TNT or, what do they call them when the TV has a number and then there's a thing?
Must feed the idiot box.
Right. But like, yeah, what is being shown over and over and over again these days is, and again, I don't have cable TV, but like,
I don't know. Actually.
But like here, and like, is that what drove pop culture from when we were kids? Is that because we had no other choice and they were driven into our brains? But I mean, like, even then you still went to the movie theater. I mean, you still went to the video store and you rented the same things over and over again so you could watch them. There's things that exist in the zeitgeist, the horror films, the Nightmare on Elm Streets and the Friday the 13th and Halloween's and these things that when you talk about them, they stick and they taught everyone knows about them. I don't know, like, I don't know what's popular on a generic network that's not Law and Order or NCIS or something that gets repeated over and over and again. I don't know what gets.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know either.
And is that what actually makes any of these actually stick?
Well, I mean, I think also like TV is so different now anyway. I mean, I know like most terrestrial sort of TV, I mean, like cable is gone. So we have, and then channels like TBS, TNT are programming in a different way now as well. I mean, so you'll get Batman movies on TNT or something, right? Over and over. But I don't know. I mean, I also think that like not as many people are watching cable or like,
sure, yeah,
traditional or non-traditional, right? So that isn't, now we have to think about like what gets watched on Netflix over and over, and it's Friends,
right?
Or whatever it is, right? It's stuff you can put on to fold your laundry to,
right?
I mean, it's not like, oh, it's Friday night or it's whatever, or it's a Tuesday evening and I just want to put something on and oh look, it's Tully, right? I don't know.
It's a deep cut. But yeah.
I don't know. So I don't.
Yeah, I think the only film that's going to stick out of this year, and it potentially Oppenheimer, but definitely Barbie. That's going to be the film that is when you talk about this year.
But what? So what if Bottoms hits Netflix?
Maybe.
Like, will it then become, kind of posthumous cultural like touchstone?
I don't know.
I mean, is that how this stuff happens now? Instead of like the syndication, not syndication, but the sort of TBS stuff, is it like Netflix?
Look, it's 7:30. I need to take my Metamucil and go yell at the sky for 30 minutes and go to bed. Right? I gotta get up at 4 and hit IHOP. So,
do you really? You going to IHOP tomorrow?
No, I can't afford IHOP. That's a rich man's game.
Man, it's not All South Pancake House. I mean,
that's true.
I like pancakes.
I do enjoy a good Dutch baby.
Do you make your own?
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I like a good Dutch baby. There you go. That's nice.
A little apple compote.
Yeah. Like brown sugar, kind of like brown butter, brown sugar.
Yeah.
Apples. Yeah. Put them on top. Oh yeah, no, that's good. Little like hand whipped cream.
So. Oh, absolutely.
Oh boy, this sounds
absolutely.
Oh man,
we're going to Old South.
All right, best performance. We're down to the last couple Screamies here. Best performance in a film we did not like.
All right, my my entry for this is Russell Crowe in The Pope's Exorcist. Which would make you think that
terrible,
right? But here's the reason why I like
his
this performance.
accent is just
right,
such a Guido accent.
But what's wonderful about late stage Russell Crowe
is that he
does not give a shit about anything, and so it's not like he's actually trying. But he owns this like he just kind of chews scenery. He knows why he's there, and he's not Gladiator Russell Crowe anymore. Mm-hmm. Not that I care about that, but I mean, it's just like.
No, but speaking of pancakes, I mean,
right.
Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Live your best life, dude. And so this, I think what I like about this, I kind of like have shat on like Pacino and other ones for doing kind of similar things. But like there was like Crow had its prestige years. I don't think he's like sullying his legacy like De Niro and Pacino have done with some of their roles where they are buffoons. Like this is just something that he can kind of sleepwalk through and own. Like, but and it's not a Nicolas Cage, I'm paying my taxes role.
Right.
And it's not a we're gonna prop Bruce Willis up and milk everything we can out of Bruce Willis role. This is a legit movie. It's not a terrible movie. It's not a good movie.
Right.
And so, but that kind of performance will make me go see this kind of movie. So Russell Crowe, congratulations, you win.
Jason's best performance, Screamie. Yeah, for me, this is easy, and it's Lily Gladstone and Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
And so,
that was the potential for me. Although we did talk about how kind of like Scorsese sidelines her a little too much.
Right,
and that's and I've seen her, like she is better in Undiscovered Country. And so there's better roles for her.
Yeah.
I do hope that this is a breakout for her. I do hope, and I think this is going to be a really interesting. This is who's the guy in Pho?
Paul Mescal.
Paul Mescal. It's gonna, like we talked about how Mescal is going to have to find his place in the acting world and where he kind of where his sweet spot is.
Well, and we'll see what Gladiator 2 does for him too.
Right. Which could skyrocket him for sure.
Yeah. But side note, did you see that? So last time we talked about Jacob Elordi and like what his career was going to be.
I had not seen what he's doing next.
Paul Schrader.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Master
Paul
Gardener
Schrader
too, huh?
and Richard Gere in Oh Canada.
Interesting.
It's a Russell Banks novel, I believe. It's an adaptation of another Banks novel. Yeah, Elordi and Gere and Paul Schrader. So sorry, you're talking about Gladstone.
No, that's good. I'm glad. Yeah, so I'm because we talk about unconventional, right? And she's in a Florence Pugh realm, where solid actress. Will she be able to find those roles for herself, and still be who she is? I don't know. The world will not. We'll find out soon, I guess. The world may never know.
The answer is 3.
Right. It's 3. It's 3 looks.
Okay. So our last Screamie our last Screamie category is the subjective best movie of the year.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be the same for both of us. Yeah, mine is Past Lives. Hands fucking down.
Mine is too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did say that some of my nominations for this category included Anatomy of a Fall, Oppenheimer, Barbie, and Poor Things. But yeah, no, I think Past Lives, hands down. I do think all of those films that I just mentioned had a clear vision, had a clear voice, and took creative risks in what they were doing. And so I do appreciate all of that. I appreciate all of your hard work, nominees.
Look, you're all winners.
Right. I mean, everyone who was mentioned here tonight, you're all winners. And here's a song to like dance you out. No, but I mean, I do think that there were some movies that like, I mean, took genuine risks, were trying to do something and sort of adhered to that vision. And so, yeah, but no, Past Lives is, I just think, again, it's a perfect fucking film. I've seen it like half a dozen times, and yeah, I love it. So.
Yeah, it makes me very, very excited about what she's going to do next. And yeah, it really is. Some of my other ones, I think I had Monster, I had Poor Things, I had They Clone Tyrone. I do think that as a film that another film that I wish got the recognition for being how subversive and how clever it is. I really wish that had a theatrical release. I wish we could have championed that a little bit more than what we did, and rather than just dumping it on Netflix. But yeah, Past Lives is just not every year you get films like this, and it really is it's just an amazing piece of work, and it's amazing. And also, I mean, just like, again, with all of the things around it, being a first film and killing it that way, and it's just, yeah.
And getting the performances she got out of those like 3 leads, I mean, it's so good. I mean, and they're all, those 3, Magaro and Greta Lee and Taewoo, I am sorry.
Yeah, no,
but they're fantastic, and they play so well together, especially there at the end. It's such a moving and delicate and oh god, poetic film. Yeah, so go see it, folks. You know it's good if we gave it our top. Screamie.
That's right. We gave it the best Screamie of the Year award.
The best Screamie of the year. Jason, is there anything else that we need to get to?
No, I think we did it. I think we've said all we need to say.
I think so. So that does it for our first annual Screamies. Jason and I are now off to the after party at insert name of Swanky Club Restaurant Hotel here. I'd like to congratulate all the winners and the losers and say to all of you, thank you for listening.
And motherfucker, keep screaming.
You have been listening to Why Does the Wilhelm Scream with your hosts, Brock and Jason. If you liked today's episode, do us a favor and rate, review, and subscribe in whatever application you use to consume podcasts these days. You can reach us by visiting whydoesthewilhelmscream.com. If you are in the DFW area, we would love to see you at a Fort Worth Film Club event. You can learn more about those and find a full schedule at fortworthfilmclub.com. And you can learn about my foundation and how we are trying to foster the next generation of film lovers at realhousefoundation.org. That's REEL housefoundation.org. Till next time.